I was out with my lady and she was asking me, where do I think we all go when we pass away? And, in my opinion, I'm not really religious as far as following a mainstream religion, right? I'm more spiritual. I believe we all are here, and I think everything is just connected, through energy and our niches and how we help each other interspecies wise. And how bees pollinate so many different types of crops and different things that humans use and other animals use to survive. And the bee, it's a thankless service. Just like humans, with our trash, we feed so many birds and other insects, and we keep the circle of life continuously going around just based off how we live. Trees give us oxygen, we give them carbon dioxide, things like that. So that's kind of where my spirituality lies, that we all are connected, and I live in peace with nature, and I enjoy appreciating the beautiful things of nature and what this world does have to offer, and I'm not violent. I'm not, I'm so compassionate to life, right? So she was asking me, where do I think people go? And, in my opinion, I think our energy just continues to get, put back in the atmosphere, put back in the universe. I don't want to sound all wavy or anything like that. It's real simple. When an elephant dies, that carcass feeds all the predators, scavengers, insects, birds, lizards, whatever the case is, for like almost a month, right? So that elephant's energy goes into keeping things alive, goes back into the living, right? And with humans, I think it's the same. Before Homo sapien, which, the modern human, which we are, before we really took control of everything, it was simple. We weren't the only ones that was like us up here. So you had the pygmies, you had Homo erectus, you had all of these different things that these archaeologists have dug up over the decades, over the centuries. And Neanderthals, we've had all this different types of competition, just like right now you got gorillas, chimpanzees, orangutans, lemurs, and all these other, humanoid type primates, right? So that's the same. We just stood the test of time, right? We stood the test of time. We did. We knew how to make it work. We knew how to take it there, with our intelligence, with our cooperation, our teamwork. And it wasn't like that everywhere, because as you see today, you got these group of people that work together, these group of people that don't really get along, but they work together, these group of people who want to attack these group of people. And this is 2021, and we're going back and forth. Like China and Taiwan got a thing going on, and it's almost mind-boggling that we're even still having conflict, in this present day and age. And so that's also what leads me to believe that religion was just a tool to control. And then once we got the government aspect of civilization set up, and the police and the law enforcers part of civilization set up, we were able to go a little bit further and further and further away from like real deal religious civilizations and living in the religious way. And that's kind of how the world just went, right? And I know the argument is, well, that's because it's a worldly thing, and that's what religions say and stuff like that. And of course, this a tactic to control humans is going to be a very, very psychological heavy, paid attention to, practice, trial and error, thought out tactic, right? But when I sleep, sometimes you dream, sometimes you don't dream. Now, the times you don't dream, if you were not to wake up, would you know? You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm getting at. I don't think we would know, like, you know, I know people say, oh, but what about your consciousness and all this? Once again, would we really know what a conscience is unless another human told us that we had a conscience? It's simple. These ideas aren't embedded in our brain at birth. These ideas are taught to us throughout our life. And we believe it makes sense based off the point of reference that we're living at. And we either hold on to it or we don't hold on to it, or things are known as common knowledge, you know? So your dog wakes up, does what it does, but it's something special about that dog that it doesn't do exactly what other dogs in his same breed do, right? So you got pit bulls, for example. Not every pit bull is an aggressive dog. Not every pit bull is a friendly dog. Not every pit bull is a hyper dog. Not every pit bull is a lazy dog. So what I'm saying is each pit bull in that breed has different personalities. Now, could you say personality is your conscience, right? Who you are, is that your conscience? You know, you see videos of dogs skateboarding, pugs skateboarding, and you look at your pug and he's just over there. He's not skateboarding, right? You see what I'm saying? So you can teach and train, but you can't teach and train every single person, every single dog to do the same trick. For working dogs, for example, for military working dogs, police working dogs, they go through an academy and not every dog graduates that academy. So that shows you that you can train and teach, but not everyone can be a part of it going through that same training. You see what I'm saying? So that lets me know everything has a different personality. You see all the time in the wild where some wildebeest will come to the aid of another prey animal from a pack of lions on a hunt, and they'll save the day. The animal gets up and runs away, but it doesn't happen every time, you know, and it might happen more than we think because the cameras aren't always around, but it does not happen every time because we see so many videos of lions and other predators having successful hunts. So when we pass, I think it's similar to going to sleep, you know, and I think people get scared when they know that the death is right around the corner. It's not a surprise or a sudden death. Like the Roman Emperor Constantine, he converted from Roman Catholicism to Christianity, like Jesus Christianity, where he could be saved while he was on his deathbed because he was afraid he would go to hell. So that right there lets me know some people believe in religion, but also is mocking it as well. You know, in my opinion, what he did was a mockery of the religion, how he's one religion the whole entire time he's living, doing his dirt, doing whatever it took to blah, blah, blah. And he's hiding behind the fact that his position was noble. And then when it came down to it, he really didn't believe in his set religion, which was going to bring him salvation in the afterlife. You know, you got so many ancient civilizations that mummified their nobles and mummified important people because they believed they were going into the afterlife. But as we see, you know, all it did was allow other humans to dig them up and put them behind a wall of glass and say, look what we found. Amazing. You know, that's crazy. Imagine if, just imagine, your beloved loved one passes away. And 15 years later, you see on the news your beloved loved one being dug up from the ground just to be put in a museum because their casket was one of a kind and it must be on display for the betterment of the world to see. It sounds ridiculous, right? Sounds ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. So that's why I think, when we pass away, your energy goes back into the rest of the world, and God is the energy that brings all this together. It's not a person. It's not an image that we were made from. This world has been here for a very long time, and a being like we are isn't some celestial being. It's not. I mean, look at how we live and look at the things that we do and look at how we operate and how we think. We're not, because, and the truth of the matter is, millions, billions of us ride the coattails and we piggyback off the advancements of a few 100,000 people that really had breakthroughs and changed the way we conduct our life, based off, could it be monetized? Would it be sought after to be purchased and all these things that make something, break through and become the social norm. But as you see, I remember I was in church one time and the pastor introduced a guest, and the guest was promoting his book. It was a self bio. It was an autobiography. And he's telling his little beginnings. He was in prison. The guards were beating him up. And at the moment they were beating him to the brink of him breaking, he screamed out Jesus, apparently, and at that moment, riot had broke out. The guards got called. They left him alone. He said from that moment, he really gave his life to God. So he gets out and now he's traveling the country promoting this book. But this is what got me, and I hear, those salvation stories a lot. And then we're going to talk about something else, but that I hear a lot too. So we're sitting there. We've already gave the normal offering to the church. They already passed the collection plate around, and now he's up there and he goes, I want you to take your age and your children's age, who's with you right now. And I want you to monetize the age that after you add it up, and monetize it to give, your blessings a chance. You need to water and you have nutrients for your prayers, and this monetization is going to symbolize that. So it was $80 just from, my group. And there was a bunch of people in there. All that money went to him, so he was basically just a successful panhandler, because what is me giving my money to this stranger who's just talking about how he left prison a changed person? What is that doing for my blessing when he's going around the country on tour doing this, just eating off the backs of just telling his story, which really wasn't inspirational because it was the same little sap story you hear all the time. Like, former gangbanger, went to jail and turned his life around. A lot of people have had that life, and they're not begging and asking people for money. They're out going and getting it, the right way. All this is tax free too. And the thing is, in my opinion, if you're a huge church and you're living tax free, you would think that church would be involved in so much community development. But there is not a church that is involved with community development to a degree where it would act like they are paying taxes, and that should also be changed. That, yes, you don't have to pay taxes, but the amount that you would pay taxes needs to go into the community that gives you that money anyway. so they can actually see blessings from their offerings. You see what I'm saying? And the fact that, religion has turned into a business where, it's like a pyramid scheme almost, where they come out and ask you, come join. They're out there outreaching. Come to the church. And then, you come to the church to get judged by other people in the church. You see that the church is segregated. You see all these things from modern society that have crept their way in the church. And I don't think it's crept. I think it's always been there, because truly people can't follow religion to a T, right? Not with all these things going on. So I told her, I don't think it's exactly, religion should be telling us where we go. It's just something that we should talk about. So let's talk. Welcome back to the Air Podcast. I'm your host, Nate Grimes. You can hit us up on Twitter at The Air Podcast with an X, not a C. And hit us up on YouTube at The Air Podcast with an X, not a C. And let's talk, man. How do you feel about religion and the history of it? And, let's not forget about, the Crusades, where fighting wars over like which side of Christianity was going to really take over and be the staple. I mean, why would that even matter? You know what I mean? But on top of, him saying he was getting, the guest at the church that took all the money and was saying he was getting beat by the guards, and he yelled out Jesus and they stopped and all of this. How similar does it sound when you hear a successful business person and they talk about the moment for me was I made a decision and I just said, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And I just gave myself to, I stopped worrying about what others are thinking. I stopped worrying about this or that or this or that. I think that's just a decision being made. That's going to, you're stopping doing what is not working for you. And you're now cold turkey quitting that negativity that is holding you back, and you're going forward into positive thinking and all of these other things. I think that's the same story as these Jesus salvation stories. Now, I'm not anti-religion at all. I think religion is great because if it breeds good energy and good vibes, then why not? And if you're truly true to your religion, you will be fine in society. You will be a better piece of society, Now, like I said before, everything's not for everybody, and religion is just not for me, right? But if you're truly true to your religion and you're treating others kindly, you're being compassionate to the world and everything that is in the world that lives, you're not the problem. You're not the problem. The problem is the judgment from people who have no business judging anything. Somebody will judge me for eating ice cream every day, but in that same body of judgment, they don't eat ice cream every day, but they do smoke cigarettes every day. But they're harping on my ice cream eating, talking about, you're going to get diabetes, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. Because they're hiding the fact that they smoke from me. So I don't have anything to rebuttal. I just end up feeling bad about it, thinking that, they're perfect because they're really good at hiding stuff. And, people are really good at hiding their flaws. And the ones that are really, really good at hiding their flaws, they lash out and try to shit on people the most, But everybody's fucked up. Everybody's dealing with something, everybody's dealing with something, whether it's insecure natures, whether it's low self-esteem, no confidence, wishing they were something else, wishing they would have made a different decision, dwelling on things in the past. You never know what someone's going through. But in my opinion, that's what we discussed. And I just thought we should talk about that. I just don't think it's as serious and it's as complicated as we try to make it. I really don't. But I would love to hear your opinions. I really would, because the only way we can get some straightening and understanding is if we continue to talk and have real open gauge talks. Not I'm gonna yell at you until I'm tired of yelling, and then you could yell at me until I stop and I start yelling at you again talks. Those are never beneficial. And that's a lot of the thing and a lot of the reason why we really don't get anywhere when we're trying to have serious conversations. Nobody wants to see the point of view from the other side. Everybody just wants to hear a point of view that they agree with and leave it at that. No one really wants to hear a point of view they disagree with, hear points, respect that person's point of view, and then deliver theirs and be respected enough to have that other person hear them the way they heard them. So that's why this platform is so beneficial, because we can have those type of conversations. You know, we can have those type of talks. Let's drink to that. But yeah, so, and what's also crazy is, you know, in the 40s, the Book of Enoch was released to the public. And that's another thing. Why were these religious texts hidden from people? You know, why did the church, who was in so much control, want to control the knowledge, or not even knowledge, just the sheer existence and the knowing of the existence of certain books in these texts? And also, why were these texts changed so many times? Why were they translated in so many different formats? Not different languages, just different formats. You know, you got different versions of these texts. And that's crazy to me. You know, it just makes me feel like if religion was truly true, it would have more control, because it would be more noble individuals ready to stand behind the fact that it is something special. And I know, you know, you could probably say, oh, well, you know, they killed everybody who was like that, or they imprisoned everybody who was like that. And what I'm saying, if it was so solely true, you would have an outrage. You would have so much more people backing that. And the reason I say that is because the riots we've witnessed from 1992, you know, it was a riot. Riots in the Vietnam era, you know, riots for all the times police have killed somebody that shouldn't have happened. You know, person should have just been arrested. You know what I mean? Still had their life. We showed out. We showed up and showed out. When Nipsey Hussle passed, he had the entire neighborhood come out, and it wasn't a small neighborhood. The entire city, the entire, you know, Los Angeles County, for the most part, walking the streets, mourning him. You know, if religion was super serious and so real, and as they want us to believe, as they did back then, if it was, you don't think there would be huge outcries like that, where people would be ready to go to war, you know, behind it? You know, people stormed the Capitol over the stress of the pandemic, the stress of the presidential election, and they went and stormed the Capitol. Now, you think if their livelihood after flesh living, you think that's not going to be just as important, except they're coming for blood this time, you know? You see what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? You know, it would almost be like another Crusades, you know, where people are dying behind religion. It would have never stopped. Never stopped. So that's all I'm going to say. You know, you got American slavery that was under Christianity rule. You see what I'm saying? So the way they justify it is they weren't human, second class citizens. So it's bonkers, mind bonkers. So I just think, the true meaning of life, in my opinion, is to really live in peace with nature, not be harsh, to be compassionate, not hear all this machismo man talk about, oh, that's girly, or this is manly, or this is womanly, or this is that. It's just, we need roles in society. We need roles within a tribe, just like a rank structure. You need to know who's the supervisor. You need to know who's the worker for the most part. Who's the skilled one. You need to know who's the nurturing one. You need to know all these things to have a well-oiled machine. Chimpanzees have a flourishing society. Gorillas have a flourishing society. Lion packs have flourishing clans and packs. Wolves have packs. It's there. We see it. We're not some super special thing when we can't even get our heads out of our ass to have world peace. All this energy, all this technology, all this communication we have, and still no world peace. Because at first people thought, the language barrier is why we have beef. Nah, we fixed all that language barrier stuff. We did. We really did. And still beef. So that's all I wanted to get off my chest, talk to y'all, give my little 2 cents. And I can't wait to, hear what you guys have to say. And let's really have this conversation, and you could DM me on Twitter as well, at The Air Podcast, with an X, not a C. And we might even have this conversation later on down the line with a lot more input from you guys. So I'm your host, Nate Grimes. I'll talk to you soon.